great to be here. I was half kidding this morning saying the main difference between a product conference in Paris and in Madrid is that you're way more tan, so I'm completely envious. But anyway, let's start with why. Why are we even doing product management? Product management is a byproduct of two exponential forces that applies to the company. The first one is speed. The industry we're working on, the rate of technological innovation is accelerating. The second one is scale. Growth in company's product, organization, or even user base is adding complexity. And that complexity, every extra user, feature, or employee that you had is adding more and more. And product management is born out of that complexity. That's actually why you rarely see product manager in teams than less than 50 people, because usually the CEO or the co-founders can still manage that complexity and drive the team toward a common goal. That being said, product management is more sought and sought after. So much actually that product management has become the second most paying job in the US in technology company. I mean, let that sink in. I couldn't believe it at first. I mean, it means that one of the top paying jobs in a tech company is someone who doesn't know how to code. And I don't think that trend has gone unnoticed in Europe either. The PM market is booming. I think La Product Conference, whether it's in Madrid or in Paris, where it had tripled in size over the last 4 years, is also following that trend. Yet, there's still ambiguity around this position. So Josh Hellman gives a simplistic definition of what a product manager is. Oops. That a product manager helps their team and company help ship the right product to their users. So there are still plenty of misconceptions of what a PM is. I feel like in the room you're pretty educated. So what I want to talk today is more about how do you implement successfully the role of product manager in your future or current organization. So a bit about my background. I'm currently a lead product manager and not a CPO at Algolia, a search and discovery platform that helps tens of thousands of businesses to build great search experience into their product. And I started as a product manager by accident. Like most of us who started more than 5 years ago, in Europe it was this weird but exciting opportunity, a concept that we imported from the US. I worked both in Paris and in San Francisco, and 3 years ago I decided to join Algolia as, again, their first product manager, an employee around 40. In both those experiences, I had to define what a PM means, what a PM was at this company, and sell it across the organization. It was even more complicated at Algolia because they specifically didn't want any product manager, none. It was in part because the founders used to come from a large organization where a product manager was kind of a toxic form, and they didn't see any upside of having product manager. So I had to fight my way into it. And yet, 3 years later, and 350 employees later, we are hiring heavily in product management. We're going to be a team of 15 product managers by year's end. So how did I go about changing the leadership and the team's views on what product management is? That's what I want to give you today. I'm going to give you 6 tips that's going to help you drive the adoption, not of your product, but of your position into this company. I guess the first one is you need to understand the culture and the context you're evolving. What does your team value? What matters to them? What is being valued, celebrated? How are decisions taken? That's actually how I got my job at Algolia. So I mentioned they didn't want any PM, but I was already in love with their product. I was seeing their search and website I was using day to day. I was reading their blog where every engineer was talking about developer experience and how they were doing things. And I loved it. I knew I wanted to join that company. So what I did is I invited the CEO for a coffee. I was very upfront about my intention of joining Algolia, but instead of pitching myself, trying to explain what I could bring to the company and everything, I asked him a ton of questions about his challenges, how he was talking about Algolia, his vision. What I got from this coffee was Algolia was very customer-focused. They were shipping things super quickly. Their team of developers were really passionate and opinionated, and they just released a Magento extension. So I went back home, and what I did is I took their latest release, this extension. I found some of our customers and prospects. I went there, made them tested it, recorded everything, and then I write a private blog, a private blog article, and sent that to the whole Algolia team. So this was a fantastic application for them because someone external to the company with minimal context was already helping them decide what to do next on their product. So basically, that's how I got the job. But that was the easy part. 1 week before I joined the company, I go at the happy hour just to mingle with the team, discover my teammates. And one of the core developers sat down next to me and asked me the question I'm sure you all had at one point. So you're a product manager, but what do you manage? So I have this question from several founders and CEOs across the year asking me for advice on how to hire their first product manager. And usually they had kind of the needs where they needed visibility and someone to challenge the developers to ship faster and to help them manage the developers because they had no more time to do this. If you are in this situation, congratulations, what you need is an engineering manager, not a product manager. So I truly believe at my core that product management is not here to manage developers, nor tell them what to do. A proficient team is accountable, trusted. You're not here to remove ownership from developers, but rather help them provide more value. Just like Algolia founders, the developers at the happy hour who asked me that question had basically previous experience with product managers that were glorified project owners only here to give orders. Instead, I believe product management is all about collaboration and cooperation, which means empowerment and trust. Earning the trust and the respect of your team is crucial. A good way of checking that is whether the team would be paying you if they control the budget. How? Do meaningful work. Be the voice of the customer. Find out the customer pain. You can never go wrong with this approach. My first 3 weeks at Algolia, I was assigned to work on another extension with another very talented but opinionated developers. He had strong belief on what needed to be achieved and where to go. Yet my product sense told me that something was very off with the onboarding. So he didn't agree, but I didn't make that situation his opinion against mine. Instead, what I did, again, was found a prospect that later became a customer, brought the developer with me, and do a user testing session. And he was delighted to see his work in action. He was able to check his assumption and his blind spot as to how actual customer would use the product. After that, it was super clear what the next steps were for both of us. So letting the data and the customer speaks volume. This also set up the best practice, demonstrating that having an opinion is not the best framework for making decisions. You may be familiar with Eople. Eople stands for highest paid person's opinion or highest paid person in the office. This acronym is used to describe the tendency for lower paid employee to defer to higher paid employee when it comes to make a decision. Actually, I had something like this happening to me at PrestaShop. So I was in a meeting, I was a junior PM back then. I was in a meeting with the head of partnership and the chief revenue officer, both in a leadership position, when they announced me out of the blue. So Lucas, we're gonna have a new spot for advertiser. It's gonna be in the main menu, visible from every page. This is gonna drive a lot of impression. You need to implement that ASAP. And we already have partners and announcers interested. The investors board demands it. So I did what a PM do all day. I said no. Because, not fundamentally because the idea was bad, actually it might have been good for the company and the growth and making more revenue, but because those decisions should be made arbitrarily or randomly. As a product manager, you have to own all the decisions. And our goals here were another line. His focus was on new businesses, where mine were on adoption and retention. So I was able to decline, it wasn't an easy task, and more importantly, the CEO backed me up. Because I truly believe that it's your role as a product manager to help leadership understand and define boundaries, align the goals, set a vision, and stick to it. Make it clear what is your scope, and own it. Speaking of scope, what a PM can do is huge, especially in high growth environment. If you look at what the PM job is encompassing, there's no way you can do everything. Managing your time is actually one of the most crucial part of your job. Focus and prioritization does not only apply to your product, but to your day-to-day as well. There's a concept called managerial leverage. It's the idea that some things a manager can do produce more output than others. That's actually where I think the title of product manager is accurate. We're a manager in that sense. Brandon Chu, general manager at Shopify, came up with this pretty interesting framework that I really like. It can be summarized as this. Product manager exerts the most leverage through vision and strategy. The rest is optimization. Vision, where are you going? Strategy, how you do it, is actually the foundation of product management. They provide the direction, the inspiration, and enable a group of people to work together as a team. So it means that for a given unit of time, spending it on the foundation of product management will have more impact. Your team is already full of smart engineers and designers, and it's likely that they know better than you how to build things. So instead of focusing on the implementation details, make sure that you can enable them to get all the context so that they can take decisions as a team. And yes, going faster in the wrong direction is definitely worse than going slower in the right one. Anyway, this is exciting, right? I mean, PM are valued. We are highly paid. A lot of companies are trying to hire us. We got to work on cool things like vision and strategy with the leadership. We got to work with all the team. Let's chill for a moment. I think one of the top qualities that I'm looking for in a PM is actually humility. As Kendrick Lamar would say, and you don't see anything on the screen, sit down, be humble. Because actually my next tip for you is, like everything that is trendy, you need to keep a cool head about it. While our jobs are by definition cross-functional, we're in a mix of UX, business, technology. The world does not gravitate around us. This is not a single-player game. There's a lot of different myths that Noah Weiss explained better than me. Like PMs are mini CEO or CEO of the product. Again, PM is not about reporting lines. Or PM are decision makers, ID generators, or need technical degrees. And one of the worst, have to be great at company politics. Hopefully what you get from this talk is that to be efficient, you need to have an impact on your team, not to play mind games. So PMR decision maker is actually one of the most common one. It's clearly a pattern for someone outside of product that wants to get into product management. They see that as a way to make the calls. That's pretty often true for disempowered engineers or dysfunctional product development teams. Actually, I don't think the PM job is to make decision, but rather to make sure a decision is made, which sometimes means making decisions. Ownership is not about doing X, but making sure that X happens. If you're not using every talent on your team, you're losing out. There's a scene in the Bohemian Rhapsody movie that I really love. For those who haven't watched it, it's a movie retracing the life of the famous rock group Queen. At a point in time, Freddie Mercury decides to go solo, split from the team, and he fails, basically. So at that point in the movie, he decides to gather back his former group and tell them something that I think is really powerful and applies very truly to product management. The quote goes something like this. I hired a bunch of guys, told them exactly what I wanted them to do, and the problem was, they did it. No pushback from Rogers, none of your reruns, none of his funny looks. I need you. And again, this is coming from a real work star, you know, not a code ninja or code guru or these shady titles that you find in offers you should run from. And this group, these members, they are your developers, they are your designers, they are your product marketing manager, they are your content specialists. Anyway, listen to them because great ideas and solutions come from everywhere. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be the main ID generator. But what you have to do is, no matter how good you are, you will be only as good as your team. So to be successful, the key is to making sure to do everything that's possible to make your team successful. I wanted to summarize that you need to understand the context you're in to drive your team to build the best product possible, which with the most value for your customer. And you don't do that with your opinion and guts, but with constant feedback and data. Focus on what really matters. Empower your team to be the best possible, to solve the right problem, and you will be successful. And to conclude, I wanted to finish with the actual and complete quote from Freddie Mercury, which goes, "You need the team, but the team needs you." Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup. No sé en qué lenguaje tengo que decirlo. Si tenéis preguntas que sean en inglés o español, os escuchamos.
Hello, my question is, you go to a company and they say, we don't need product managers, and you say, you actually need product managers. How do you change all the organization? Because it's not about product management per se, but about how the company works. How do you change that? How do you make it happen?
So what I didn't say actually is that the day I joined Algolia, I discovered on my contract that my title was not product manager. It was product UX specialist. I had no manager, I didn't have any goals, I didn't have any roadmap. Again, what I tried to do to change the perception and how the team was working is trying to find out the different spot where something was missing, where I see I could bring value, and make sure I could empower the team. And because I keep doing that, and I did that from the customer point of view, they wanted more people like me. And basically, 9 months after I joined, the team decided to hire the VP of product to officially create that team, have a structure for it, and hire more product managers. No more question.
¿No hay más preguntas? ¿Nada? Muy bien. Pues muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much and see you.
Thank you.